Have you ever noticed that your desire, your raw sexual energy, is not only about lust, pleasure, or even love? Beneath the surface, it may carry a hidden potential, a power most people never learn to access. Some suppress it, others waste it, but a rare few discover how to transform it. Not by denying it or indulging it, but by listening to it, understanding it, and allowing it to fuel the awakening of the soul. Carl Jung did not view sexual energy as just instinct. He saw it as a symbolic force, archetypal, mysterious, and deeply connected to the unconscious and the possibility of inner alchemy. For Jung, this energy was not limited to the physical. It represented psychological growth, transformation, and above all, individuation, the process of becoming your whole, undivided self at its root. Every time you feel that magnetic pull towards someone, that ache in your body, that urge to connect and merge, it is more than biology. It is a message from your psyche. The ego believes it's about another person, but the unconscious knows it's about you, about something within you waiting to be born. This is why, in dreams, sexual symbols rarely refer to literal sex. They symbolize union, the merging of opposites, the reconciliation of what has been divided, masculine and feminine, light and shadow, conscious and unconscious. Every erotic impulse holds within it the longing for wholeness. Yet in our modern world, we often stay trapped at the surface of this energy. We mistake stimulation for depth, intensity for intimacy. We chase sensation but lose meaning. And the more we consume, the more empty we become. That emptiness is not failure. It is a signal, a call from the psyche for depth, for purpose, for integration. This is where Jung's insights are transformative. He offers a path inward, showing us how to stop wasting this energy outwardly and instead redirect it inward. This is not repression nor moralism. It is not shame, guilt, or denial. It's about power, true power. Not the power to control others, but the power to master yourself. The power to hold desire without being consumed by it. The power to stand within your own fire and allow it to transform you. The power to become whole. Think for a moment. When was the last time you felt fully alive? Not because of what you consumed, but because of what you contained. Most people never learn how to hold energy. They either repress it or release it without thought. But the seeker, the inner alchemist, learns to hold it, to refine it, to turn it into gold. This is the first step of transmutation. In Jungian psychology, the goal is not to eliminate libido, but to sublimate it, to elevate it. To take the wild, untamed energy of Eros and channel it into something higher, into creativity, into healing, into spiritual awakening. To do this, we first need to confront our own projections. Each of us projects the inner anima or animus, the feminine or masculine within, onto others. This is why certain people feel magnetic, why attraction feels like destiny. What we're really seeing is a reflection of our own soul. But until we reclaim that projection, until we realize that what we long for actually lives within us, we remain caught in illusion. We stay bound to desire without ever reaching its deeper truth. The work begins when you stop asking, "How can I make them want me?" and start asking, "What is this energy teaching me?" It begins when you notice your body's responses, not with judgment but with curiosity. It begins when you stop running from desire and instead sit with it, breathe into it, and let it move through you. Not as a demand for satisfaction, but as a signal from the unconscious. Because desire is not wrong, not bad, not something to suppress. It is sacred. It is alive. And when you allow it, it can guide you back to the parts of yourself you've neglected. The parts that yearn for intimacy, not just with others, but with your own soul. Jung called this process the inner marriage, the union of opposites within. Every time you hold your energy, instead of externalizing it, you strengthen that union. You call your soul home. This doesn't mean becoming celibate or detached. It means becoming conscious, intentional, and present. It means breaking free from compulsive patterns, refusing to chase illusions, and reclaiming your power, not by denying desire, but by honoring it deeply. History shows that the most powerful creators, artists, poets, revolutionaries, had profound relationships with their own erotic energy. They didn't use it destructively. They transformed it. They turned inward, allowing their longing to become a path to truth, to creativity, to self. And this is your invitation, not to escape desire, but to listen to it, to ask what it wants, to stop treating it as a problem and start seeing it as a portal. Beneath every craving lies a spiritual calling. One of the great truths about sexual energy is that it never wants to stay confined to the lower centers of the body. Its nature is to rise, to awaken higher states of consciousness. This ascent doesn't happen by force, but through awareness. Most people live cut off from their bodies, experiencing arousal as something that simply happens rather than something they can consciously engage with. But once you observe your inner experience without rushing to resolve it or numbing it with distraction, you discover that this energy carries its own intelligence. It knows where to flow. It only needs space. This is where presence becomes essential. Jung believed consciousness grows when we hold the tension of opposites, not by choosing one side over the other, but by staying fully present within the paradox. And sexual energy, perhaps more than anything, is full of paradox. It is both creation and destruction, attraction and resistance, union and separation. When you learn to remain in that tension without collapsing into reaction, you open a different kind of doorway, a psychic threshold. It is within that stillness that something new can arise. Not the agenda of the ego, but the quiet voice of the soul. The soul does not shout or demand. It waits for you to become silent enough to hear. Sexual energy, when fully embraced rather than released, naturally creates this silence. It draws you inward, pushing you to meet yourself beyond roles, expectations, or fantasy. Yet this journey is not always comfortable. At times it is painful. Why? Because sexual energy surfaces what has been hidden, old wounds, unmet needs, and memories filled with shame. It awakens not only pleasure, but also the shadow. And this is often where people stop. Overwhelmed, they believe something is wrong, when in truth they are standing at the edge of deeper healing. This is why shadow work cannot be ignored. To truly transform energy, meditation and visualization alone are not enough. You must confront the parts of yourself that are jealous, manipulative, angry or needy, because these are the parts that hold on to your energy. They are the inner saboteurs that block its natural rise. Carl Jung wrote, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." So if sexual energy brings darkness to the surface, it is a sign of progress. It means the real work has begun. When you stop running from these parts and instead integrate them, you create a vessel strong enough to hold more energy, more power, more life. This is the turning point. You are no longer using sexual energy as escape. You are using it as revelation. This shift transforms everything, your relationships, creativity, and sense of meaning. You begin to feel alive, not from chasing stimulation, but from being anchored in your essence. Your presence becomes magnetic, not because of performance, but because of embodiment. People notice it. They may not know why, but they sense the depth, the calm fire, the fullness that cannot be faked. This is true charisma. It is not technique or seduction tactics. It is being in relationship with your own energy in a grounded and sovereign way. From here, desire itself begins to evolve. You are no longer drawn to others based on unconscious projections. Instead, you are drawn to what mirrors your soul, connections that reflect your growth, challenge you to expand, and bring you closer to truth rather than fantasy. This is where sexual energy turns into spiritual discernment. It's no longer just a pursuit of pleasure, but becomes a compass, a guide toward authenticity. At a nervous system level, you begin to sense who aligns with your path and who pulls you away. This doesn't mean you stop experiencing attraction. In fact, your capacity for pleasure, connection, and depth actually expands. The difference is, you're no longer controlled by it. You're free to choose. And that freedom changes everything. So how do you bring this transformation into daily life? Because it's not just theory, it's a way of living. Begin with awareness. The next time you feel arousal, resist the urge to react right away. Don't distract yourself with fantasy scrolling or quick escapes. Instead, stay present. Feel the sensation in your body. Breathe into it. Ask yourself, what could this energy become if I don't try to control it? At first, it may feel intense or even overwhelming, but with practice, you'll notice it shifts. It softens, it rises and begins to flow through your heart, your voice, and your mind. It may reveal images, memories, or insights. It becomes a guide. This is where creativity often awakens. This is where clarity appears. Because instead of wasting your most powerful energy on distractions, you begin to honor it as sacred fuel. You can also channel this energy through rituals. Instead of falling into old habits, create a sacred space. Light a candle, write in a journal, paint, move, pray, not to suppress desire, but to give it form, to let it flow through your body, breath, and hands. This is what ancient mystics practiced. It's what tantric traditions understood, that eros is not only about pleasure, but presence. It's about weaving the sacred into the physical. Carl Jung himself was drawn to alchemy because it reflected the inner process of transformation. In alchemy, raw matter must endure heat, pressure, and dissolution before becoming gold. In the same way, your sexual energy is the raw material, and your awareness is the fire. When you hold steady in the process, the gold emerges within, in the form of wisdom, clarity, and wholeness. So this path is not about abstinence, nor is it about indulgence. It's about integration, learning to work with your energy as a sacred ally. It's about becoming someone who doesn't just seek love, but embodies it, who doesn't just chase purpose, but lives it. And it begins with the courage to truly feel. One of the most overlooked aspects of sexual energy is how deeply it shapes our way of loving. Not only who attracts us, but how we connect, how we give, how we receive, and most importantly, what we are really seeking in another person. Jung understood that attraction is rarely about the other person. It's about what they awaken in us, what we've forgotten, buried, or lost. We don't fall in love with people. We fall in love with the parts of our soul they reflect back to us. And that is the root of projection. At the start of powerful connections, we see reflections of inner archetypes. For men, it may be the anima, the ideal feminine. For women, the animus, the inner masculine. These images are not personal. They are ancient. They rise from the collective unconscious, carrying an energy that feels sacred, destined, and overwhelming. Love feels so powerful because it touches something archetypal within us. It connects us to a mystery that exists beyond time. But as Jung pointed out, unless we become aware of our projections, we are not truly relating to another person. We are only relating to our own unconscious. This is why sexual energy can be both enlightening and destructive. When left unconscious, it fuels fantasy, obsession, and dependency. We start chasing an image instead of seeing the person clearly. We confuse chemistry with true compatibility, and we mistake intensity for destiny, when in fact, it may simply be a call to do inner work. So what does it mean to love from a place of integration? It means the energy is still present, but it's balanced. You're not seeking someone to complete you. You're seeking someone to reflect your wholeness, to challenge you, to grow alongside you, and to help you see yourself more clearly. This kind of love cannot be rushed. It doesn't flare up quickly and fade away. It deepens slowly, requiring presence, vulnerability, and the willingness to be seen not only in your light, but also in your shadow. In this way, sexual energy becomes more than pleasure. It becomes revelation within the safety of a conscious connection. Intimacy becomes a mirror, showing where you are free and where you are still bound, where you trust and where you close off in fear. Every touch, every gaze, every shared moment becomes an invitation to bring more of yourself into awareness. When you step into that space, not just with your body, but with your soul, you begin to experience what Jung described, as the sacred marriage, the union of masculine and feminine, not only between two people but within each individual. In this state, the body becomes a temple. Lovemaking becomes a ritual. Desire transforms into devotion. This is not about technique or performance, or about becoming a better lover in the way culture often markets it. It is about being fully present, awake, and willing to meet another soul with nothing hidden, nothing forced, and nothing held back. Meeting someone at that depth changes you. It dissolves old patterns, strips away the masks, and awakens something within that no longer needs to chase because it has already arrived. Yet, this depth of intimacy can only be sustained if your relationship with your own energy is conscious. If you still rely on someone else to validate you, heal you, or fill your emptiness, then your sexual energy will be taken over by the wounded child within. Instead of transformation, it will lead to repetition. And repetition is the opposite of growth. This is why the path Jung describes is not a quick fix. It isn't packaged or glamorous in the way modern culture sells spirituality. It is demanding, raw, and real. It asks you to face your deepest wounds, your fear of abandonment, your sense of not being enough, and especially your fear of being truly seen. Because when you are seen, fully seen, your defenses collapse. The ego resists, projections fall away, and what remains is the essence of you. This rawness becomes the ground for transformation. From here, a new self can emerge. Not the self that hides or performs, but the self that simply is. Even your experience of arousal shifts. It's no longer tied to fantasy, validation, or control. It becomes rooted in presence. You begin to feel awakened by honesty, truth, emotional clarity, and the sacredness of being real. Sex becomes less about climax and more about communion. You notice subtle energies, the heart opening, the breath deepening, and awareness expanding. The body becomes not just a vessel for pleasure, but for awakening. Boundaries soften, and you realize intimacy is not about possession, it's about union. Not a union that erases you, but one that brings you more fully into yourself. This is the paradox. The deeper you merge with another consciously, the more whole you become individually. Real intimacy doesn't erase identity, it refines it. And it begins when you stop using sexual energy to numb pain and start using it to illuminate your path. From this place, you stop seeking experiences and start seeking essence. You are no longer afraid of being alone because you have met yourself. You no longer chase highs because you have tapped into the river of life within your body, your mind, and your soul. This current is always there. It doesn't need approval or permission. It only needs your attention. When you give it that attention, not as an act of discipline but as a way of living, you begin to live from your source. Life itself begins to mirror that transformation. There comes a quiet, undeniable moment when you realize you are no longer who you once were. Something inside has shifted, not because you gained something external, but because you reclaimed something within. The same energy that once created confusion becomes your compass. The same desire that once brought chaos becomes your channel for creation. The same longing that once felt like a burden opens into a love so vast it depends on no one, it flows from you. You move differently, you speak differently, not from pride but from alignment. You no longer ask for permission to be alive, you simply are. And those around you can feel it, even if they cannot explain it. This is the silent revolution Jung pointed to, not external but internal. A revolution of awareness, presence, and power. And if you've reached this point through every layer, every truth, then you already understand this isn't just theory. It is a choice, a path, one that begins and ends with your willingness to feel deeply and live authentically. So I ask you, not as a performer but as a fellow traveler, what will you do with this energy? Will you keep searching outward or begin the true journey, the one within? If this message stirred something in you, then this isn't just a video, it's a mirror. You are ready to stop scattering energy through fear and fantasy, and instead create a life that reflects the depth of your soul. I invite you to share this with someone who needs to remember their strength. Leave a comment if something awakened in you. Let's build a space where people return to themselves, where more people realize sexuality is not separate from the spiritual path, but an essential part of it when approached with reverence and awareness. Every like, share, and message helps this wisdom reach further, allowing others to step into themselves. This community grows not only in number but in depth. This isn't just a movement of thought, it's a movement of hearts. If you're ready, walk with me. Together, let's awaken what has been asleep. Let's turn energy into evolution.